Yes.
Wow, look at that. We're live. Welcome to the Self Love-O-Lution, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for tuning in. So we're super excited to be sharing this with you. And we're going to be talking tonight about self-love, what that looks like, how you can apply that in your life in real terms, and kind of how you can impact the world with your self-love. And on the panel tonight, we have the gorgeous Lara Waldman, who is the Abundance Activator. Hi, Lara.
Hello.
And we have the other super gorgeous Tash Mitch, the Chakra Alchemist, who's going to talk about energy and all her amazing knowledge.
Hello.
Hi, Tash.
Hi.
Yay! And I am Tara Love Perry, soul reader, soul guide, and author, and a couple of other things. And now the Self Love-O-Lution co-creator. And I'm inviting you to, I personally believe that we all are absolute true love at our core. As a human being, that we are created in absolute love. And in our divinity, we are that absolute love. I happen to believe, and hence that's why love is my middle name. I think it's everybody's middle name, because I think that that's who we are in our core. And so to be able to come from that most authentic part of ourselves and to make a commitment and make a dedication to being that core truth, that core authentic self, and then bringing that into every aspect of our lives. Like, to me, that's just like, wow, could it get any better than that? Does it get more beautiful? How would it be if I was willing to love myself enough to be so true to myself, and understanding as well that I'm going to do this with compassion and with patience and with, you know, all those ingredients that I would want somebody else to give to me, that I could give that to myself in my learning, knowing that it's going to take time, that I can forgive myself when I don't get it so right, and I can apply that then in every aspect of my life and really learn what love is. So to me, this is what self-love is all about. And willing to be one of those people that says, you know what, actually that's totally in alignment with me. I completely agree. And say, yes, I am also that self-love-o-lutionist. I believe in self-love. I believe, and I'd be willing to try. I'd be willing to learn and see what those results would be for myself and for the world. So I'm not going to talk too long about myself and my beliefs right now. I'm going to invite Lara to step in and tell us a few things about what she feels self-love is all about and why it's so important to her. Lara.
Thank you. Well, it's a beautifully simple topic, and it's a massive topic, isn't it, that encompasses so much. And for me, everything that I do now is about self-love. And I've been, well, actually, I was very much guided to start speaking to heart-centered entrepreneurs, heart-centered business owners about self-love through money manifestation, through welcoming more money into their life and business. And this was really interesting when I was given this message, because I was kind of surprised. I'd always been sort of doing general healing and helping people to connect to themselves, but this has been a really amazing journey where when I started digging a bit deeper into people's relationship with money, we started uncovering some very, very deep and I think very interesting things. So when we start putting a spotlight on people's relationship with money, and I work mainly with women, so I've spoken mainly to women about it, is something really deep.
You froze.
Oh, did I freeze?
Lara, you froze for a moment there, sweetheart.
Am I back?
Yep, you're back.
Okay, sorry about that. So when we started looking at our relationship with money and these women's relationship with money, because I work mainly with women at the moment anyhow, something really amazing started showing up, which was when we started scratching beneath the surface of our relationship with money, was this self-worth issue. Women essentially at the core not feeling good enough, not feeling worthy, not feeling deserving, not feeling lovable. And for me, it sort of breaks my heart because I see the truth of people's soul and who people really are, and I'm thinking, how can someone so magnificent and amazing feel this? And what I see now is it's like it's running in every single human being, these really deep core self-beliefs that are, one, they're just simply not true, but somehow they're running. It's like a kind of disease almost. It's fascinating to me, and I'm now on a massive mission to somehow shift and change our relationship with ourselves, how we feel about themselves. Why is it that everyone is feeling like they're not worthy, they're not good enough, they're not lovable enough? And what would it do? Our soul, our gifts, our light, and as you said, essentially we are all love. So I think this is so important. I know that so many people listening to this are here to make an impact in the world. They're here, they have great gifts and so much to share. And if we're not feeling good enough, if we're not feeling worthy enough, we consciously, unconsciously stop ourselves and block ourselves from taking action in our life, but also welcoming in the good stuff that life has to offer us. And so we're kind of hanging out in pain and suffering unnecessarily. And it's my mission now to see if we can, how much we can change with this Self-Love-O-Lution.
So Lara, would you just clarify that again for us? So you're talking about people's self-worth and getting stuck in that pain and suffering around money, and I'm sure everybody can relate to that, and it's happened at one point in their life or something. But really, how does that really relate to self-love? How can they change that? Can they change their pain and suffering around money?
Absolutely. And what's so interesting as what I've been exploring is how to change our relationship, our pain and suffering around money is about learning how to love ourselves and value ourselves. When someone loves and values themselves, they're going to be allowing the good stuff in. So a person who loves and values themselves is going to say yes to the good stuff, is going to say yes to love, is going to say yes to money, is going to say yes to the good things in life. So if we're running on I'm not good enough, what do you think we're going to attract from that place? We're going to attract, things not that aren't so good, essentially. So much just stems from how we feel inside, and it's all, our external reality is all just a reflection of that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. And I got a quote from Eckhart Tolle's book, The Power of Now, and he said, get the inside right and the outside takes care of itself. So you basically just summed that up.
Yeah, I see it as within, so without. Our inner world, it's our goggles. Our inner world, it's like how we see what's going on outside. And it's amazing to me how, a really more kind of subtle example of this is if you're having a bad day, you notice that if you're just feeling not very good, that everything outside seems sort of crappy and things are out of flow and things aren't going so well. But if you're feeling good inside, suddenly everyone's being kind and the day's going fabulous and everything's in flow. And has the outside world changed, or has the inside world changed? And my awareness is it's the inside world, how we're feeling inside, that has a huge impact on how we perceive the outside reality.
So how can somebody who's listening now, because we've got loads of people clicking in live, so thank you for joining us. And so how can they actually, got any quick tips how to love yourself more so you can have more money in your life? Just like that, Lara, instant.
I'll just say it in one sentence. Bada bing, bada boom. Well, actually, Tara Love Perry, interesting. What I am really about is I love your technique, your I Love You Me technique, which is about saying hello to yourself. And this is about taking time to go within and saying hello and saying hi to yourself and giving yourself love, you're giving yourself what you need. And we're so trained and focused on the outside world bringing us what we desire. So it's like, when I have money, then I will be happy. When I have love, then I will be at peace. When I have this, then. So rather than that, we shift the inside world first. So what is it that you're really asking for? A lot of people who I speak to about money, really what most people come back to is freedom, this feeling of freedom. And so for me, this is about setting yourself free. And it is a journey. Unfortunately, there isn't a quick fix answer. But the very first thing I do is actually saying hello and going within and taking a good look at what's going on and giving yourself everything that you desire. And I imagine later, Tara, you can tell us a little bit more about that.
Oh, I might just do that. Thank you, Lara Love.
You're welcome, Tara Love.
Will you change your middle name, please? Self Love-O-Lutionists change their middle name to Love so that everyone on the planet starts having love as their middle name. Now, gang. That's hilarious.
Oh.
Thank you, beautiful. Tash, what do you think? What are you thinking there, Miss Wisdom Oracle Lady?
Well, actually, when Laura was speaking, I was just thinking about how it would be interesting at some point to talk about money, because it's such a big topic, isn't it? And there's so many layers of that belief, and so to get all our points of view on it would be really cool. And I absolutely love that self-love and money, and that's something that Laura really focuses in on. I absolutely adore that, because it's not something you hear much about, the combination of self-love and money, and how, the money that we have in our life is actually a mirror of what we feel our worth is. I mean, that's something, and getting to that worth is about self-love. That's something that's actually really beautiful to weave together, so I love that. But what I was thinking about was more about how layered our thoughts can get, and how layered our belief system can get, and how really and truly self-love is about spending the time with yourself and patiently peeling back those layers that don't serve, and finding those layers and being really compassionate with yourself and empathic with yourself to say, right, I'm going to do this work yet again, So, for example, I mean, basically self-love and not having self-love could look like exactly that, not having that sense of worth. And not feeling worth can be so layered. There can be so many aspects of that. There could be the outside sort of superficial aspect of it, where we actually don't be beautiful, or we don't consider ourselves to be beautiful. There could be the that kind of sense of exactly like what we were just talking about then, not sort of feeling like we deserve to receive and not being able to receive fully. And it could be just a sense of like not honoring ourselves enough and not spending the time to give ourselves the time that we need. And not feeling like we're worth it that time, not feeling like we're worth it enough to spend that time on ourselves, So for me, a lot of the work that I've been doing is, and my work always with everything is starting from the inside out. So, when people, for example, come to me for coaching, very much the work that I do with them is a lot of it's from personal experience. And even with this layered work is very much like that. It's about peeling off one layer and sort of feeling the lightness and the abundance and the joy that comes from that. And that can go on for a little while, but that then actually sometimes brings to light another layer that you then need to peel back off again. So yeah, that's my take on self-love. It's kind of like a constant journey. It's a constant commitment that we make to ourselves to come back to the table yet again and to bring that love to ourselves yet again.
Because Tash, don't we all kind of know these things? I mean, people have been hearing the affirmations and the, yes, we should love ourselves enough to go to the gym. We should love ourselves enough to think we're beautiful. We should love ourselves enough to, go and have a healing or something. So it's like, how do we, when we know these things, how then do we actually?
But this is exactly it. It's a commitment, isn't it? So, for example, you could say, I love myself enough to actually be pampered. I love myself enough to do the work and work out and really look after myself. I love myself enough for that. But that is a constant. Every day you wake up, it's the same. It's coming to the same table with the same thing. And ultimately, a lot of us get distracted. It's one of the reasons why after Christmas, the gyms are full. And then when it comes to April, the gyms are empty again. It's like we get distracted by life. We get distracted about, by the things around us, about how busy we get with work or kids or whatever. And so the focus shifts. And unless we actually spend the time to sort of say, this is a part of my puzzle, this is a piece that's really important to me, so I'm going to come back to this piece every day, and I'm going to do the work every day in some shape or form, then basically we can drift away from it really easily. Life can get distracting.
And it kind of sounds a little bit painful, that peeling back the layers too. Like,
it can be painful, but for me there's a sense of liberation with it. But it isn't always the most comfortable thing. There's part of this journey, like part of the expansion process, where it is buoyance and it is joy and it is exuberance and it is, it's all the good stuff, And then there are layers of it where it's challenge and it's sort of meeting your boundaries and your block and finding out what you need to get past those. And that could be uncomfortable. That, that could be, and the thing about the human experience is that we have all different experiences along a spectrum. And the joy and the abundance and the, that kind of buoyancy is one aspect. But we are still going to, at some point, experience all the other aspects along the spectrum. And it's how we come back, bring ourselves back to that kind of, the joy and the buoyancy. But to know that that's there, to know that we are, that basically life is going to bring us all these different kinds of experiences. And to actually, again, come back to that empathy and compassion, to love ourselves enough and go, you know what, this is really uncomfortable. This doesn't feel so good. But, I love myself enough to actually get past this and to do the work to get past this. So yeah, it's that thing of coming back to the table time and time again. And sometimes coming back to the table time and time again with seemingly the same thing, the same issue, and knowing that it's another layer, and also knowing that every time you come to that issue, you're a more expanded version of yourself greeting that same challenge.
Yeah, because that's where we can forget about loving ourselves, isn't it? I mean, like, flipping heck, oh, it's not working, what's the point?
Absolutely. I mean, I think as well, when we have a challenge, and when we've had a challenge for quite a long time, so say it's something like around self-worth. Self-worth can be such a layered challenge in the sense that we've actually been telling ourselves and running the same script over and over again since our childhood. So when it comes to the point of, right, we're going to make a change on this, it is a very much a same layered process at times of actually uncovering what's not working and expanding that, and uncovering again what's not working and expanding that. And every time we uncover what's not working, sometimes it can feel uncomfortable. But again, it's coming back to, I love myself enough to actually sit with this, to go through this, to do this, to get past this,
I've got a quote for that as well, actually. I was thinking about some of the genius things. I wrote it down because I often forget quotes. I'm not good at remembering stuff. But Rumi said, and hands up who loves Rumi, he was pretty wise. Your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers that with yourself that you have built against it. All the barriers within ourselves against love that we have actually built, and our task is to find those. So that sounds like that layering, coming up against the.
Absolutely, that's like deep layered wisdom, isn't it? Really.
Yeah, this self-love is not a new thing, is it? Really, it's not a new concept. When Rumi talks about love like that it's an uncovering of what's actually already truly who we are, but we've got these barriers against it.
Yeah.
And love is doing that search, is doing the finding.
But I have to ask you, Tara, because you're the Self Love-O-Lutionist extraordinaire, and basically the initial seed of the idea came from you. And we all know that that seed is a part of us as well, which is one of the reasons why we're sitting in this circular connection right now. But when you think of self-love, what comes up for you? What sort of arises and bubbles up?
It's two things. It's challenging commitment. And listen, all I'm saying about this self-love thing, because I know that I'm not the first, you're not the first. There are people's work that I've been looking at actually recently, when you think you have this incredible new idea and you realize that this is not new at all. It's just that I've been realizing it in my journey over the last 5 years or whatever, 10 years, and it's been super important to me. And I haven't kind of, to be honest, looked around and looked at other teachers, and the more I do, the more I'm realizing, wow, there are some incredible people that have been writing about this and speaking about self-love for a really long time. But I feel so passionate in having kind of discovered what self-love does for my life, and knowing what self-love is doing for my clients and the people that I work with their life, in all different aspects of their life, how self-love serves them and helps them serve the world. I find that so revolutionary. It literally changes people's lives. It's changed my life, and it constantly changes my life. It's like a constantly evolving, flowering, beautiful experience for me. As I uncover those layers, layer after layer, and for me it's like a petal opening on a lotus, this constantly opening, flowering, perpetual self-love lotus. That sounds like you understand what I'm talking about. So I see how that is so transformational for myself and others that I kind of just want to start waving the flag and banging the drum about it and go, there's a lot of people that, even mainstream media now, self-love is kind of getting in there. People are singing songs about it on the charts. You can buy it in T-shirts now, I love myself or whatever. So the concept is getting into the mainstream, but I feel like let's really open the lid on this. Yeah, we've got these incredible tools for communication now. We can reach all across the world. And because I think self-love is so powerful, and I don't think it's been done on this planet before. So when I think about a solution for world problems or a solution for each individual's pain and suffering, I keep coming back to love as the healing thing that heals all things, that resolves all problems. And if we could sing that song of self-love louder, if we could presence that even more so, and really kind of, for me, I'm loving myself by sharing self-love. I'm passionate about it, you can probably tell. I think it's such a revelation that I actually feel like this can bring humanity to our next level of evolution. I really think it can bring us into that next paradigm, that new paradigm, and that new paradigm being love, that new paradigm being unconditional love. Now, great teachers have talked about unconditional love. Jesus talked about it, and any amount of seers and incredible philosophers and teachers talk about the unconditional love as the ideal. But striving for that ideal and going, okay, what is unconditional love? Let me give that to somebody else. Let me love my partner unconditionally. Let me love my children unconditionally. And then kind of noticing, well, actually that's perhaps not working out so well, because I'm doing my best to love everybody, but I'm still not feeling very loved myself. I'm still not feeling whole and complete. I'm still lacking. I'm still empty. I'm still sad. I sort of feel like I need to have more or be acknowledged more, or kind of get some love for myself, but then that's too uncomfortable. That's too challenging, like you were talking about, Tash. So we just keep giving that love to other people, trying to love others, trying to love our neighbor and love all of, our family, and not get hung up on all the little issues, just keep loving. But what I've noticed that that kind of isn't really working so well, and it's not so achievable. Like some people just don't, there's certain people that they don't want to love, that they can't love. There's too much pain for the love to exist there. So I'm finding that that's really not achievable. We've been trying to do that for a while, I think, humanity, with all the religions and all the philosophies, you know, based around loving thy neighbor and giving and serving and being selfless. And
can I just say one thing, because it just came up, that so much reminds me of the giving and the receiving cycle, because we've been taught so much about the giving, and we should give, and we should share, and we should be selfless, and to be, you know, to give is a really, really good thing, you know, because it shows that we care and we're generous. But ultimately, that has led to a lot of people being unable to receive. And it's kind of, there's a lot of discomfort around receiving. And when it comes to that sense of self-worth, that really comes back to, can you receive? Do you know what I mean? And for me, that, you know, I know that that's a layer of stuff that I am constantly taking off with. There's a sense of real deep discomfort in receiving that thing. So let me explore that a little bit. Do you know what I mean? But that's what I'm hearing when you're talking about that. It's the receiving element.
absolutely. And how many of us, let's be honest, even though we really want love in our lives, in all different kinds and shapes and form that comes in, how good are we at actually receiving it? Yeah, totally. And so I really noticed that practice, when the practice instead of is trying to give out there, and we turn our awareness this way, and we start to practice our own methods that we're kind of shoving on everybody else, to be honest. It's a bit like, you know, receive my love. Why aren't you receiving my love? Why don't you want my love? Why aren't you giving me enough love back? You know, and we kind of have this tug of war of love. Sorry, I'm laughing. It's probably not really funny. It's really painful, actually, for a lot of people. And I've definitely been in pain, great, huge amounts of pain when my love is not reciprocated. So that's where I have to go, hold on a minute, am I really unconditionally loving? Maybe I'm trying to unconditionally love someone else, but am I unconditionally loving myself in the process? Or am I really destroying myself and beating myself up? Mm-hmm. And that's where I had to get really conscious. And that question, would I be willing to love myself enough to stop trying to get it from out there and actually find it within me? Find the love inside of me that says, yes, I love you enough, me, to go to these places of pain, of lack, of suffering, of poverty, where that disease of poverty, that disease of the poor me, that pain, I can go to those places and have, like you said, Tash, that courage that love gives us to go and apply the soothing, healing balm of love. I'm just wondering, you know, because I get off to ranting. I'm so sorry. I get so
it's kind of like we're listening to the angels singing.
Yeah. I'm just wondering, because I'm new at this, so I'm not very good. The feature's disabled. How do I enable that feature? Because I'm wondering if any of the people that have joined us, have any questions. I would like to be able to connect with these viewers, and I can't figure that out.
I'm just going to say hello, everyone, and see if we can see some.
Oh, you did it! You did group chat. Well done, Lara.
Oh,
yeah, I know.
My screen keeps freezing every now and then, so I apologize for that.
Yeah.
Freeze.
I'm Aquarius, and anybody who knows anything about astrology, they'll tell you that Aquarians aren't just the air sign, they're the out there sign. Right? Way out there, air sign. And so I can get really like utopian and humanitarian and I know what the whole world needs. So I don't mean to come across like preachy or, you know, it's just kind of my innocent babble of passion.
We love you. But the question I felt to ask was, what does self-love look like? I think we're so disconnected from loving ourselves, it's almost like it's like a foreign language. We know it conceptually.
Yeah.
Should we talk a little bit about what it actually looks like to love yourself?
Yes.
Otherwise, it's kind of like a concept. But how do we actually practically start loving ourselves more? Of course, it's a journey. I'm wondering if that might be a thing to
totally, Laura. And actually, because I know that this is like something we could talk about. I could talk about this for the rest of my life. And there's so many other people that have the expertise in certain areas of life. So whether it's nutrition or sexuality or health or mental health or spiritual health or, you know, goodness knows any number of different aspects, whether it's business, like the people you work with, or whether it's around purpose, you know, that I work with, or whatever, you know, all these different aspects of life. I think that there's so much to talk about that this channel, I would like it to be a regular event so that we can have many other people joining and sharing their expertise about what self-love in all these different aspects of life actually looks like, sharing their techniques and their skills and their knowledge.
Yeah, because it looks like in all sorts of ways, doesn't it? Whether you're, you know, self-love through welcoming money into your life, self-love through allowing loving relationships, self-love through
how many
eating
people
well.
live on the planet? Like 7 billion or something. So I think there's probably 7 billion different ways of self-love.
I feel like self-love is really about resonance as well. You know, it's about really tapping into what's resonant for you, what your personal truth is, and really following that. So, like for some people, for example, if we were to look at nutrition, for some people it would be raw food. For other, you know, I've seen so many different aspects of nutrition and how people have approached it. But ultimately, I feel it's kind of like what sits best for that person, and you know what resonates best for that person. And like the same way, it's basically if you're loving yourself physically and you're giving love to yourself physically, that could look like taking a walk every day for an hour for some people. It can look like training for a marathon for another set of people. But along that is just basically allowing yourself to really tap into what's resonating and what your truth is, and really following that. And I feel like we all have that aspect of us that we know what self-love is because we know what's resonant for us. We know what feels right for us. We know what alignment feels like for us. And if we don't, then that's definitely the first place to start exploring.
I was going to say, I think there's a lot of people that they've forgotten what that feels like. And they've got so buried underneath all the shoulds and the coulds and the woulds and the pain and the layers of stuff, and got really disconnected from that. I see that every day. It's hard for people to come back to what their truth is and go, well, like, this does feel right or doesn't feel right. It's almost like become foreign to a lot of people to know how to do that.
Yeah, I think this is so profound, actually, what we're touching on. This is about, you know, what Tash was saying is finding out what your truth is. That's yours and yours alone. And there's so many rules and regulations. Like, if you're being a spiritual, good, heart-centered person, you'll behave like this or that. For example, like if you're a good person, you know, spiritual, and this is the way to live, you know, and a lot of judgment about eating meat, for example. And now I have a very, very different point of view, or it might be like loving yourself is cutting out all sugar. You know, I was very rule-based for a very long time, like to live a spiritual life, to live a looks like, and I think, so what you're saying, Tash, is so important because this is about finding out what is your truth, what is right for you and you alone, and learning how to listen to that. Because as Tara was saying, there's so much noise, so much shoulds and shouldn'ts that come in from our family, our friends, society, our community, that it can be really hard to trust, to listen to what it is that you're being asked to do, or you're being guided to do. And there's so much guilt and manipulation to get you to behave a certain way or do a certain thing. And so I think this self-love thing is really radical. It's sort of really taking a really kind of really close look within and getting really honest with yourself about what's right for you. And this little voice comes into my head when I even say that, which is you're selfish. It's selfish. And that was one of my programmings. If I take care of myself and I love myself and I listen to my needs, I'm a selfish person, and that's bad. And so that's my programming that just kind of popped in even when I was speaking. That somehow we're taught that looking after ourselves is, yeah, it's selfish, it's bad. And if you were really a good person, you know, putting everybody else's needs ahead of your own. So I think it's kind of, yeah, a pretty big thing.
How do you do it, Lara? How do you know this? What's right?
Yeah, it's a very, very good question. For me, it's about going within constantly. So I have a lot of practices where I get really still. So you can call it meditation, or I lie down on the floor. I listen. For me, it's tapping into my intuition. What is true for me? And what is true for me feels light. It's like it's a light feeling in my body. And it's hard because I was sitting today with something I'll call like conflictual realities. So where there's one part of you that knows, and there's another energy that comes in that tells you something else. So you can be in kind of conflict with yourself. Like I don't want to go and meet this person, but I should, or something really basic like that. Or I don't want to go and hang out with my family, but I should. And these two kind of worlds collide. And so if we're being really, like if I'm being really true to myself, I'm really listening to what is true for me, regardless of whether someone else might get upset or hurt. And obviously it's a, you know, it's a dance, isn't it? It's a dance kind of moving through the world with other beings. But it really looks like tuning in, closing my eyes, getting still, and really asking myself, hey, what's true for you here? What would be loving and kind for you right now? And that changes all the time. So it's not only a daily practice, but it's a practice like throughout the day. How about you?
I feel like it's a constant practice. It's kind of like it doesn't stop, does it? I mean, basically that sort of checking in. Because I think there's micro and macro in checking in. There's kind of like, when I say that, I mean there's times when you actually need to spend a good hour just calming yourself because something's happened or something is that challenging that you actually really need to get yourself into that quiet zone. But there's other times when you're out and it's kind of like a micro, like, this is right, that kind of quick check-in with yourself. And sometimes I feel it's a practice that we need to build a habit out of because it doesn't always come naturally.
Well, we're quite in the habit of being in pain, aren't we?
Yes.
You know, Alara, and you were talking about this in the beginning, and actually this came up today in one of the sessions with somebody again, and this is such a classic topic where somebody has become addicted to a love that is painful in a relationship. So, you know, in terms of trying to find that love where we feel safe and held and somebody cares for us and, you know, our world is stable and our world is fine, but then actually we're not getting that all the time in the relationship. Actually, the relationship can be really destructive. And because we are so used to being in pain, we're kind of primed from birth to be in pain, to pick up on everybody else's pain around us and sort of feel like we've got to join in the club. Or, you know, as children, we're so sympathetic and so empathic that we can feel other people's pain and we can't help but sort of take it into our own bodies like little sponges that soak it up. And then we spend our lives walking around with other people's pain. So there's a whole load of things. I mean, this is a whole topic actually we could really spend time talking about, but what I really notice is then because we're kind of so used to being in pain, and let's face it, how many years of pain can we look back into humanity, how many years of history of a humanity in pain and suffering and destruction, and you know, that's been going on for quite a long time. So we've received all of this. This is what happens when we land on this planet Earth, when we're born in this body. And so we get stuck in this addiction to going towards relationships or going towards love, and then actually we want it to feel like that love, but it's actually really painful. It's actually really heartbreaking. We actually have to do a lot of sacrificing or a lot of giving ourselves away or a lot of self-denial or a lot of shutting ourselves up or You know, so many different compromises. Again, we're taught that in a loving relationship you compromise. And it's like, well, how much are you going to compromise and cause yourself that pain and be addicted into that pain? Because we're used to being fed from painful love relationships. Does that make sense?
Yes.
You know, it's a bit like the sugar addiction. Come off sugar, that's really difficult. Trying to come off a relationship that you've got addicted to, because even though it's painful, you keep going back for more. And you say, oh, I deserve better, or I should love myself enough.
But
How many times do you hear that?
That for me feels so much like the layers that I was talking about previously. Because basically, for example, it could go back right back to childhood. It could go back to Jane in the playground, who was like really mean over like 3 years in your life as a constant mean cow in the playground. Just like sprouting stuff all the time, right? So like you actually developed this pattern where it was kind of like an overlay of going to school and feeling the same thing over and over and over again. And then could actually tell yourself that this is what friendship feels like. And so you almost then, because it starts to, you almost start to wear it like a comfort blanket, like this is what happens when you are with certain people. These are the certain feelings that you get. You then start to look at people around you to make you feel comfortable in yourself. And that comfort that you're drawing in is from that place of uncomfortability. And so when it actually comes to peeling back the layers, it's actually peeling back one layer, going, okay, actually, this isn't really true. You know, this sense of like feeling like there has to be a barrier between me and other people and I can't show myself completely, that isn't really true. So when I peel that layer back, what does that really mean? And then really delving in and exploring that, and sometimes delving in and exploring the uncomfortability and the vulnerability around that, because it then means that you actually go out and you show yourself, you know, you say who you are. And then you actually feel the buoyancy from that, you know, you kind of feel light from that. And then you come across something else, like some kind of hurt around you or something. And all that's happening is that the person's mirroring something in you. And then you've got to go back again and go, okay, well, what's this about? You know, where is this the mirror? And what is it? What's drawing this thing to me? And so this is what I'm saying. It's like a constant. And when you talk about addiction, I feel it's less about addiction and more about the layering that we have, and the layering that just needs to be peeled back of conditioning that basically has allowed us to feel comfortable with discomfort.
Yeah, like it's normal.
Yeah, like it's really
And
normal.
if you take that away, then what is there?
Exactly.
That's not love. What is love?
And just being really willing to challenge yourself to say that is not true, because our ego could get in the way and we could go, but I know it's true. And when you actually really challenge yourself to say that is deeply untrue, what is the truth of this situation? You meet a different mirror, you know, you meet yourself in a different guise.
Well, I tell you what, I was kind of talking about myself in that relationship because I get a lot of my clients with the same thing, and it wasn't until I had it that it really, I was like, oh my goodness. I really realized, and I definitely found myself addicted to somebody. Even though our relationship was destructive, it was hurting him, it was hurting me, but when it was good, it was so like the one, you know, it was like, I never want to be with anybody else ever again, you're so the one for me. And I'm hearing this left, right, and center right now. So many of my friends, so many people have got this one that they're, you know, I can't live without this person. And yet they're causing each other pain all the time. And it's really, really awful to be in this relationship. But it's almost worse not being in it. Like at least in that relationship for me, Tash, at least I felt like I was getting fed something, even if it wasn't that ideal unconditional love. I was getting fed something, and that was better than nothing. In fact, it was kind of more like his particular brand. I don't know, there was something about it. I was just addicted to, I think I was addicted to that much pain. And so I really had to, like you said, get deeply honest with myself. So I love this man. I was willing to have a life where I wasn't totally happy and I was compromised, just so that I could be with him and I didn't have to have the pain of suffering without him. But actually, when I really looked inside myself, I met this little girl, this little me. And this little me was like, but I can't give this relationship up because I don't know, like, I don't know what another kind of love looks like. I've not been in any other kind of relationship where I am loved and it's not painful. Or that pain, the relationship, the two people can come together around pain and look at it with love and compassion and healing and bring love to the pain rather than just going, it's your fault, rah, and ripping each other to pieces. I haven't had that experience. So, you know, so it was like there was no reference for any other kind of love other than the painful kind. So my little girl was saying, actually, I don't want to change. I don't want to break down don't break any barriers. Don't make me let go. And I really had to go in with my own self-compassion, my own self-love, and pour love all over that little me. And just empathize with her and really feel the feelings with myself of like, wow, yeah, there's just nothing. What does true love look like? There's just no reference for that. Nothing in my life I can say that's the kind of love. That's true love. And having to go into the unknown was so scary, was almost worse. But I had to, by loving that little child in me, and literally by just doing it out loud, the way I would do it to my own child, saying, oh, I'm so sorry. I really feel your pain. I totally understand. I completely see you. I'm really sorry. I love you. You know, they're there, and kind of giving the soothing, giving that comfort and that understanding to my own inner child, then allowed her to kind of go, oh, actually, this kind of love feels really good that I'm giving myself. Oh, yeah, this is the love that makes me want to come alive and makes me feel strong and makes me feel like actually being in the world and embracing it and learning again, like standing up when I've fallen down and dusting myself off and having another go at living, at being alive, at having my life. Yeah, and it was like that contrast of actually I choose this love from myself, and I choose to practice that, because okay, and maybe I'm not perfect at it, maybe I'll never be perfect at it, but I'm sure as hell going to really give it my best shot to find each part and deeply love it instead of compromising and putting myself in those painful places.
And I just love everything that you said, because that was like a proper like demonstration of self-love-o-lution right there. Because it's so true. There's deep, uncomfortable moments in there. There's vulnerability in there. There's facing yourself, and there's facing the unknown and getting really fearful. Because what does this look like? I have no idea. And then loving yourself enough to find what it looks like to you, to find your truth in the midst of all of that. So yeah, absolutely, that was beautiful.
It definitely took some honesty, and I tell you what, it was so painful. It was horrible, and I would have gladly have carried on going. Part of me would have gladly carried on going through that pain, so I never would have had to face this new path, the unknown of what real true love might look like. You know, part of me so wanted to keep the old version because it was comfortably painful. Like you said, the comfort blanket. So it's a real challenge to admit that to ourselves, and I think everyone deep down really knows when something is not okay. And you know, for us to be that willing and that honest to have that conversation with ourselves, or find that truth, and in whichever way that we do that, to go with what we actually really do know inside.
This is massive. This is so massive, and I feel like what we're doing here is birthing a new paradigm. It's about, we've known about it, you know, like you said, Tara, there's been so many teachers and sages that have been speaking about this for so long, and yet still in the collective consciousness, I experience it as it's like this heavy blanket. How we do life on this planet is pain and suffering and separation. And I think what we're trying to do by going within, and that beautiful demonstration, Tara, is like what we need to do to actually transform this kind of this old paradigm and find a new way of being and living. And as you know, hopefully it's clear, this isn't always comfortable, and this isn't always easy, and there isn't, you know, one direct path there. But I feel like this is what we're trying to do with this self-love-o-lution, is find a new way of being and living on this planet. And I know, us three, we've been working on this for some time in our own personal life and with our clients, and we're getting these glimpses, and we have these moments, and maybe the moments get a bit longer and longer, and there's more space where we experience it more and more. But you know, it's an ongoing practice of getting really, really honest, really vulnerable, deep diving within those places, we just don't want to visit. For me, it's like I call the shadow. It's those really scary, dark places within that we just don't even want to look at, and seeing what's on the other side of it. Like, what does love look like? It's almost like we don't know. We sort of know somewhere. Our soul knows, on the higher dimensions we can tap into. What does that look like on this physical planet? And so I think we're all a bit excited to see what's possible here. What's possible for, the collective.
Far out. That
right on.
That's like, the juicy bit. Because I always wanted to live in a world with more love, since I was a little girl. And actually I find that loving myself and learning what unconditional love is by applying it to myself is actually much more joyful and easy than I ever would have thought. And it actually makes dealing with all those shadows and painful places like so fast. Like, my healing took place so fast the moment I decided to love myself. Seriously, it just shifted massive amounts of things, and so it's worth it. There's so much payoff, and it actually happens quite radically. That shift is like it is like a shift. It can be, wow, something big just moved, and I get a lot of. To be honest, I don't think it takes. Let me just say, I know that healing can take a long time in some ways, but once you get the hang of what love looks like and what self-love looks like, and you're starting to get the gist of it, and you start applying it, it is like the golden touch. It's like, wow, that works there, that works there, that works there. Oh my God, everything's turning to love. And it can be a lot more joyful and fast and effective than you can even imagine. So just to kind of balance that out with, with what we're talking about, the pain side, it's so worth it, actually. It's much better than you can even imagine. And if we can do that for ourselves, and then you can do it for yourself, and you can do it for yourself, and we all inspire each other and share with each other, like, wow. And how quickly can that self-love-o-lution spread? I think this is something that literally everybody can do. Not everybody can sacrifice themselves like Jesus did. Bless his soul. Not everybody can be sacrificial like Gandhi or Mother Teresa or these incredible beings that live on this planet or have lived on this planet who've taught us about love. Not everybody can be like them. But I do believe that everybody has the capability to love themselves just that little bit more. And what difference would that make to the planet? I think that would give us an overall planetary shift.
Yes.
Woo!
I'll sign up for that. Thank you.
Oh, guys, you're so much fun to hang out with. There's so much to talk about here. We will kind of get a bit organized. This is a new thing. We're just pressing the button and saying, let's go, without really having an idea of what we're doing, even though we just know we're here to share and inspire and include you guys, include everybody, and just say, can we all join in? Can everybody join in and love themselves? And how much a fun world that will be, and how much fun it is. Like when I'm hanging out with Lara and Tash, and they love themselves, I'm just having the best time ever. I'm in good company. So, yeah, we're going to just figure this out as we go along. And we invite you to figure it out with us. Give us your ideas, share your questions with us, the kind of things that you would love to have people sharing more information about, what aspects of your life you're getting stuck in. Because we have a big posse of people. We know a lot of, we're connected, we know a lot of people, a lot of experts in the field. that we can invite into this Self Love-O-Lution Hangout. So give us your feedback. Let us know what you want to see, and keep tuning in and joining us. And let's pass on the message. Spread the word, everybody. Say, I love you, me, every day. Any final words, ladies, of love?
I want to say, I give you permission to love yourself.
Ow.
And to see the truth of who you are, and to keep saying yes to self-love every day.
Oh, you keep freezing. Okay, keep saying, say that again, that last bit, Lara.
I give you permission to love yourself and say yes to self-love every day.
Oh, thank you. We lost your picture then, but we had your photo just going wah, 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 and radiating.
Wah, 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 wah.
Thank you, darling. Tash, any final words from you?
I'll just say I'm just really happy that we are doing this and that we're part of this this movement of bringing that paradigm through. And it's more than bringing a paradigm through. It's just reminding people, because we all, like you say, we all know this. But it's just basically that reminder that is a constant, that is an everyday, that sometimes it's a minute-to-minute thing. Yeah, so love yourself.
Yay. I think you got the message, right?
Yeah.
All right, my darlings. So we haven't actually decided if we're going to do this same time next week. I'm kind of saying yes to that, actually. I'd like to make it a weekly thing. Let us know your thoughts, and we will be posting the information out on the social media. But you can stay in touch with us. So on Facebook, we have a page called Self Love-O-Lution. So you can find Self Love-O-Lution, and it's a group, and you can just join the group, and all of the recordings of these will be posted on there, all the dates and all the speakers and all the information will be posted on there. There will be a website coming up, which will be called selfloveolution.com. Just haven't built the website yet. If anybody wants to do that, by the way, please come and do that. We'd love you to. And yeah, but otherwise just stay connected to the Google and post your messages here, and we can stay in touch with you and answer your questions back. All right, so mwah, loads of love. I'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.